The reason was never the reason. Whatever they told you at the time, whatever sentence you have been carrying around and examining for years like a stone you cannot put down, it was not the true one. It was the presentable one. It was the version that could be said out loud without either of you falling apart in that room. And last night, in a kitchen, at an hour when reasonable people are asleep, somebody finally said the real one to their oldest friend. You were somewhere else while that happened. Lying in bed listening to the heat come on. Standing at a window with a glass of water you did not really want, looking at a street where nothing was happening. Sitting up later than you meant to because going to bed means being alone with your own head. You felt nothing. There is never a signal. My child, the sentence you were given was not a lie exactly. It was true enough to hold up in conversation. That is what those sentences are built for. They have just enough weight to stop the questions and not 1 ounce more. They said something about timing. Or about needing to work on themselves. Or that you deserved better, which is the cruelest one of all, because it sounds like a compliment and functions like a door closing. And you took it apart. For years. You have turned that sentence over so many times that the words have stopped meaning anything. It was never going to give you an answer. There was nothing in it. Here is what you have never once said out loud to another living person. You concluded that you were not worth staying for. That is what happens in the absence of a real reason. A person will not tolerate a blank space. If nobody tells you why, you will write something in, and what you write is always about yourself, and it is always the harshest available option. You did the inventory. Everybody does. You cataloged your age and your body and your bank account and your family situation and the way you laugh and the things you need that other people apparently do not need. And you found the item. You decided it was one of those things, and you have quietly organized your life around avoiding that flaw ever since. You have never told anybody which item you chose. You would not say it out loud even now. You would change the subject if somebody got close to it in conversation, smoothly, the way you have learned to. And you kept a version of the story for public use. You have told it at dinner tables. It is short and it has a shrug at the end and it lets everybody move on to the next subject. Nobody who has heard your public version has any idea what it actually did to you. You still have a physical reaction to certain things. A car that looks like theirs. A particular song in a grocery store. The specific week of the year, which your body seems to know before your mind catches up. And there is a small ugly thing underneath all of it that you have never admitted. Part of you wanted them to have suffered. Not badly. Just enough that it would have meant something. And you have felt ashamed of that for years. How many times have you rewritten your own worth based on a sentence somebody said to get out of a hard conversation? If this is landing on the exact place you have never let anybody near, let it be known, even if only to me. Beloved, let me talk about what a person does with a wound that has no explanation attached to it. You investigated. You went back through everything looking for the moment it turned. You reconstructed conversations. You asked mutual friends careful questions designed to sound casual. You looked at their life from a distance, at hours when nobody makes good decisions, hunting for the evidence that would finally explain it. And you built theories. You have had at least 3 over the years, and each one held for a while, and each one eventually collapsed because none of them accounted for everything. You have wanted the confession. You have composed it. You know exactly what they would say and where they would be standing when they said it. And when it never arrived, you went looking for signs instead. A number, a song, a dream. Anything that would tell you the story was not finished. And when the investigating wore you down, you numbed it. A screen until late. Food you did not taste. Another hour of work so there would be no quiet room left in the day for the ache to speak in. I am not saying this to correct you. I watched every bit of it and I did not think less of you for 1 second. There was a young man who came to me once and asked what he had to do, and he was sincere. He was not trying to trap me. He had kept the commandments since he was a boy and he said so, and the account says something about that moment that people skip right past. It says I looked at him and loved him. Before he said anything difficult. Before the hard instruction. He was looked at, and loved, and then told one thing, and it was the one thing he could not do. And he went away sorrowful, because he had many possessions. Now hear what did not happen. I did not chase him down the road. I did not soften it so he could stay. I let a man I loved walk away from me because he was not able to let go of what he was holding. He was not wicked. He was attached, and he was afraid of what life would look like on the other side of that particular loss, and the fear won that day. People leave because of what they cannot put down. Almost never because of what you failed to be. And notice that the man went away sorrowful. Not relieved. Not vindicated. He walked off carrying grief he had chosen, and there is no indication anywhere that it got easier for him afterward. That is what that decision costs, and the person who leaves pays it quietly for a long time. Now let me tell you about 2 brothers standing in a room in Egypt. Joseph had waited more than 20 years. Sold by his own family. Sold again into a house. Accused of something he did not do. Forgotten in a prison by a man who promised to remember him. And then he was second in the kingdom, and his brothers were standing in front of him asking for grain, and they had no idea who he was. He had every piece of information he could ever have wanted. He knew exactly what they had done and why. He had the whole reason, and he had the power to do anything he wanted about it. And what did the account say he did? He cried so loudly that the Egyptians in the outer rooms heard it. A grown man, the second most powerful person in that nation, weeping in a way that could not be contained by the walls. Then he said the thing. He told them not to be grieved or angry with themselves. Sit with that. He comforted the men who threw him in a pit. He gave them a way to live with what they had done. Now here is what I need you to see. Getting the reason did not fix him. It let him grieve properly, in front of witnesses, out loud, which he had never once been able to do in 20 years of managing. The tears were not the wound reopening. The tears were the 20 years finally coming out. He had been holding it the entire time. Through the house of Potiphar. Through the prison. Through the rise, and the title, and the marriage, and 2 sons whose names he chose specifically to describe what he was trying to forget. All of it held in, until a room with the right people in it, and then it came out of him at a volume that carried through walls. And notice something else. His brothers never delivered a proper apology. Not really. Years later, after their father died, they were still afraid of him and sent a message pretending their father had left instructions. He never got the confession you have been composing. He got something better. He got clear enough to say that what they meant one way had been turned another way, and to feed them anyway. Now let me tell you what happened last night. Two people at a kitchen table. Everybody else asleep in the house. The overhead light off and just the one over the stove on, which is what people turn on when a conversation has gone past the hour where you want to see each other clearly. The friend had asked about you. Not deliberately. Your name came up because of something unrelated, the way it does. And your person gave the standard answer. The one they have given for years, the same shape as the one they gave you. And the friend, who has known them since before all of this, said one sentence. They said, "No. Tell me the real one." That was all it took. Because that is what happens with a story that has been sealed. It does not need to be pried open. It only needs one person who will not accept the short version. And they started talking. And about 4 sentences in, their voice went and did not come back, and they put their hand flat over their eyes and sat there like that. And what came out was not about you. It was about what they were terrified of, and what they thought was about to be asked of them, and the specific thing they believed they were not capable of being. A fear they had never once named out loud in their entire adult life. They said the words, "I was not able." Not I did not want to. Not it was not right. I was not able, and I could not tell them that, so I said something else. The friend did not say anything. That was the kindest thing they could have done. They sat in that kitchen for a while and then they went home, and something is out now that has been in for years, and it is not going back in. That is the whole event. Nobody was contacted. Nothing was decided. But a sentence that was sealed for years got said in front of one witness, and a person who has told themselves a version of their own history for a long time can no longer tell it that way, because somebody heard the real one. Come back to the item. Come back to the inventory you did, and the specific flaw you selected out of your own life to explain why somebody left, and the years you have spent quietly building your existence around hiding that particular thing. You picked a reason because none was given, and you have been serving that sentence ever since. Hear me now. They did not leave because of who you are. They left because of who they were not yet. Read your whole history through that and watch it come apart. The one who went quiet. The one who could not commit. The one who got strange right when it started to be real. You have collected those departures and made them into a report card on yourself. They were reports on somebody else. Every one of them. A person will not stay in a room where they are being asked to be more than they currently are. That is not about the room. That is not about you. That is a person meeting their own limit and choosing the exit over the growth, and it happens in kitchens and driveways and church parking lots every day of the year. And I will tell you plainly, because I do not manipulate people I love. I am not telling you tonight that this comes back to you, or when, or how. That door is mine. What I am doing is taking away the item. You have carried a verdict on yourself for years that was based on no evidence at all, and it was never yours, and you can put it down tonight without anybody signing anything. If something in you just let go, say so, even quietly, even out loud in an empty room, because a heart that agrees with me stops explaining the fear of another person by using its own worth. So let me pray over you now, right where you are, at whatever hour this has found you. I speak peace over the part of you that has been running an investigation for years. Close the file. There was never going to be a document in it that made this make sense. I speak healing over the sentence they gave you. Over the day they said it. Over the drive afterward. Over every night since that you have taken those words apart looking for a meaning that was never placed inside them. You were not hard to stay for. You were simply standing in front of somebody who had met their own edge. I speak wisdom over you. You will know the difference between a person who is afraid and a person who is finished. You have confused those before, and it cost you time, and it will not cost you again. I speak courage over you. Courage to want something at full volume. Courage to say a true sentence to a friend at a kitchen table at an hour when you should be asleep. Courage to let somebody see the item you selected out of yourself and to find out it was never the reason. I speak protection over your name, your home, your rest, and your heart. What belongs to you cannot be talked out of your hands by anybody, including by the version of you that keeps arguing against your own value. I speak restoration over your family, over the friendship that went quiet, over the chair at your table that has stayed empty too long, over the parent or the child you keep meaning to call. I speak provision over your work and your money and every practical thing you have laid awake calculating in the dark. Hand me the calculating. You were never built to carry the arithmetic and the verdict in the same night. I speak strength into your faith. Not the loud kind. The quiet kind that gets up on an unremarkable Thursday when nothing has visibly changed and chooses me one more time. That has always been worth more to me than every loud season you have ever had. I speak freedom over you from the need to be given a reason before you can move. Some explanations arrive years late and some never arrive at all, and neither case has any authority to hold your life still. I speak rest over your body. Over shoulders that have not come down since that year. Over a stomach that drops at a song in a grocery store. Over the week in the calendar your body remembers without being asked. Let it be an ordinary week from now on. And I speak breakthrough over the exact thing you left out of your prayer this week. Not the general thing. The specific one. The one you stopped mentioning because you got tired of the sound of your own asking. I know its name. I have always known its name. Somebody you love is carrying a verdict they wrote about themselves years ago and has never once said it out loud, and they may need to hear this more than you did. My child, a man in a palace cried loud enough that the whole house heard it, 20 years after the pit. He never got the apology. He got the truth, and the truth was that it had never been about his worth at all. You have been serving a sentence that was handed down by somebody who was not qualified to judge. So stop presenting your case to an empty room. There is no one sitting in judgment on your worth except you, and you have been the harshest voice in that room for years. Rest now. It was never you.